China's automotive sector has been eyed greedily the world over. Automakers, suppliers, and many others are looking to benefit from the ongoing surge in consumer demand for cars in China. To get more insight, let's cross live to the Hyatt on the Bund in downtown Shanghai, where Max Henry from the Global Supply Chain Council has gathered several experts to discuss the issues. Hi Max, are you having fun there?
Things are great, thank you, Sunny. We are today very glad to be on the Hyatt on the Bund with a fantastic view on the Huangpu River. Joining us today, we have three guests. I'm very pleased to introduce you Jan Teste, who is the Head of Purchasing East Asia of Noel Brand's Truck Division. We also have Duan Bollinger, who is the General Manager of BBK Consulting, and Marnix Etema, who is the Senior Manager of Alvarez and Massal. All right, so you guys are top expert in the automotive sector here in China. What are, according to, to your knowledge and your experience, what are the main issues right now happening in supply chain management for, for those OEM manufacturers and also the tier 1 suppliers here?
If I might, from my point of view, the main challenge we have is to maintain cost under control, and reliability of quality, and then a sustainable supply chain and relationship with the suppliers.
What we see here in China is clearly, like Jan said, is a lot of cost pressure, rising material cost, the new labor law and rising cost of labor, VAT regulations that have changed. We see a rise, of course, in the transportation cost, especially for the exporting companies. And at the same time that we see all these cost pressures, of course, we see for the exporting companies a decline of the US market. And this brings quite a number of the automotive suppliers in China in a squeeze. And they're looking for creative ways to restore their margins and their volumes.
What are those measures that those companies you think are taking right now to to counter impact what's going on?
I think, and Dwayne already touched on that, a lot of companies start to look at best practices. I think a lot of companies have in the last 5 to 10 years grown very, very rapidly, and a lot of management attention was on increasing the capacity and the volume to serve these booming markets. And right now they can take a step back, they have to take a step back and say, hey, how do we actually things in an optimal way? Let's look at some global best practices and bring them into our operations and in the way we work with our customers and our partners.
Yeah, and I'd say, and you guys I think have seen maybe some recent surveys where most multinational companies would acknowledge that they really hadn't implemented best practices. And I don't know that it was they were too busy. I would say they were happy with the low labor cost, and I think given inflation here over the last couple of years, it's forced those companies to rethink implementing best practices, supply chain management, lean manufacturing principles, Six Sigma problem-solving techniques.
You see the benefits out of that? Because from my point of view, I don't see such a benefit of such best practices at this moment. I think it's very advanced, lean manufacturing is very advanced practice, but actually here in China, I don't see so much suppliers able to deploy that correctly so that I have an instant effect. What I can see is that they choose their customers. So if you are not interesting, then they jump to another customer. That's what I can see. But perhaps my volumes are not so interesting for them. I don't know. But lean manufacturing, I don't know what you're going to win. Yeah?
Lean is working in China, or does that because
no?
Does that work?
No, but I'll respond back to your comment on. I would acknowledge as well that there's not too many people here within a lot of companies, multinational companies, I'll say in particular, local, certainly none, of the right talent that could implement lean principles. And not only just at the working level, but it starts at the top as well. Yeah.
But lean, you're going to work on a part of the cost which is quite little, right? Because here you have major part of your cost breakdown is material. And then what is the rest is quite profit, certainly a lot, and the rest is only a small part of it. So I'm not sure what it's going to bring if the guys can deploy it correctly.
But from a lean standpoint, I'll start with it includes material flow. So you get at issues that I think we would all acknowledge are a part of inherent here in China, as well as information flow. Information flowing from you to your suppliers to their suppliers. Lean's beyond just looking in your own plant and trying to identify ways to take out kind of the obvious waste.
Whatever countries that you think, and I will go to all of you, you think can help China?
So Vietnam was the focus. It was a little bit the hype at this moment, and I know that you are also quite active in Vietnam now, and some other companies also. Though people, or let's say my colleagues, are getting a little bit frightened by the inflation rate over there.
28%?
Yeah, so
30%.
But still, it doesn't mean that you are directly impacted by it when you buy a specific component to a specific place, to a specific supplier. So Vietnam, yes, is a place. We have a structure in India, and India is very competitive also. So I think it's an excellent alternative if your company can make a benchmark between India and China, and at the same time has something in place in Mexico for the North American factories, and in Central East Europe. So if you are in a global company with such places where you can make sourcing, actually, I think you're quite complete in your scope. And yeah, that's what we have actually. So we have structures in each of the...
I'd be interested to know, Jan, is Vietnam, for a company like yours, the product you're looking for and the volumes you're looking for, is Vietnam a realistic option, a realistic alternative to China?
Actually, we have some about 6 to 7 million US dollar export from Vietnam. So it shows that it's quite it's reliable and it's a good place to purchase. We are buying there since a little bit more than eight years. Okay. So it is said that it could be an alternative, but again, it depends of your specifics, what you're going to buy.
My guess is, though, if your industry is very labor intensive, or if the products that you're buying are very labor intensive, those companies have probably moved out of China several years ago into Vietnam, India, Indonesia, probably in that order. But I'd still say, in fact, I saw some recent data that suggested that roughly, 75% of all the multinational companies here are going to stay here and have no plans to leave. So I'd suggest that there's tremendous sourcing opportunities that continue to be right here in China. There's, as we talked earlier, there's lots of opportunity to take cost out. While I think the automotive industry has experienced some tremendous price pressures over the last couple years, I think there's lots of opportunities for them to mitigate those pressures through best practices.
From automotive and mechanical parts point of view, I think this is the best place actually.
Yeah.
Even if okay, that's also I'm speaking for, I'm preaching for my own church, I would say, but if you make the balance between technology, low cost, and quality, I would say that's the best place
I'd agree.
at this moment.
Okay, that's all the time we have for today's discussion. Thank you very much, guys, for being here. Back to you, Sunny.
Thank you, Max. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the auto sector in the next few years. Well, that does it for this week's edition of Operations Asia. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next week when we'll be taking an in-depth look at the latest logistics industry innovations in China.